Hello and welcome to this video on the whole of September with some readings for each of the 12 signs, and also to the first video I'm releasing since the channel name change, because this used to be, as you'll know if you've been joining for a while, the Chrome Zone Tarot and Astrology. We're very much in Virgo season. Virgo is a sign which represents the people, the ordinary people, all of us. And I think this is a month where we're going on the world stage to see some people called out, where we're going to be super focused on the suffering of the people, and where we're going to be wishing and demanding more heartfelt responses to those issues. It's because September's a really eventful month that I thought I would do individual readings for each of the signs, covering a broad sweep, because there's a lot going on. We've got the outer planets going retrograde, we have the eclipses, we have equinox. One of those eclipses is the second new moon in Virgo that we've had. We have lots of links to my previous video about the new moon in Virgo, and also to the video that I made about the Virgo full moon eclipse back in February. It all ties in together into quite an interwoven web. Now, September is such a big month that it really does need an overview, I feel. It's a big month in a big year. So let's just briefly say why that is. Well, of course, we're back with eclipses in September, and those started back in the spring of 2025, and now we have the autumn follow-up eclipses. And eclipses are all about endings and beginnings. They are about changes. They are about things that are taken away and things that come in. And in a way, you can see it like, imagine we're the world, the planet, the ship of Earth, this big boat, and the eclipses, both ends of the spring and autumn, are doing gear changes so that we can steer that ship on the course that we're meant to be on. That's both on the world stage and also as individuals, because, you know, we're likely to go off track, aren't we? But let's just make it super, super simple before I get onto your individual messages for the month. The eclipses are happening between the sign of Pisces and the sign of Virgo. And if we cut to the chase, this is it will be about healing, it will be about releasing victimhood, self-criticism, self-sacrifice, over-focusing on others at the expense of the self. It will also be about being the self, holding on to the self, and coming from a place of love, a place of the heart. It will also call us to focus on the tasks we can do in our daily life, to practical things, practical steps. So we have that heavenly call of the heart, if you like, from Pisces, and then we have the practical skilled hands of Virgo and the attention to detail. Do it here. This is what we need to be dealing with. So that's where we're headed with these eclipses and with this roundup of things that began way back at the start of the year. I'm offering these by rising sign. So if you know your rising sign, please go to that first, because that will enable you to know exactly which area of your chart these eclipses and major events will be happening in. But you may also want to check out for your sun sign and your moon as well for more information. So If you have Virgo rising, this will be spot on for the houses for you where this is occurring. But to start with Virgo then, so the South Node here, Virgo, will be in your first house, and the North Node in the 7th. So we have Virgo in the first house and Pisces in the 7th. Now the first house is all about how you are known, how you present yourself to the world. And with Virgo here, this can be in a very self-effacing way. It can be in a way that is a little shy, is retiring, and it may well be that one of the main ways you relate to people is in terms of being indispensable to them, of being the one who serves and organises and sorts things out. And it may be that in building up this indispensability and your role there, you're perhaps not allowing yourself to shine to your full potential here. And so therefore there is a danger as we move to your relationships with significant others in the 7th, that there may be a tendency there to sacrifice yourself for relationships, to put yourself last and not to prioritize yourself sufficiently. This is also a time when you should be paying special attention to your own health and also the health of loved ones, and to the daily routines and rituals that help you maintain that. So do be looking at your diet, your sleep patterns, and your health in general, and all of those things that you can bring into your life, which will be so much better for you. Now, from the 2nd of September, Mercury goes into your sign, and Mercury is very, very happy in Virgo, because Virgo is, though an earth sign, is very mentally orientated. So the Mercury will be moving into Virgo, and this will be a very perceptive, organised and effective Mercury, and a Mercury that's able to really focus on what's important and what's not. However, the very next day on the 3rd, that Mercury will be squared by Uranus in Aquarius. And just beware then of perhaps revelations coming in, shocks, surprises, or even enlightenments. You know, it doesn't all have to be bad with Uranus there. But do be, just aware that Uranus will square that Mercury on the 3rd. So that might be a day maybe for genius ideas or maybe for big surprises coming out of left field. Who knows? And then Mercury will be in your sign, so a lot of extra mental energy right up until the 19th of September. So it's an excellent time if there is studying or mentally focused work that you need to be focusing on. Now, Venus, planet of what we value and also of self-worth, will be entering your sign on the 19th of September. And hopefully this will bring you renewed sense of your own values, of your own worth. And it's important, I think, for you to hold on and remember those, because of the Virgoian tendency to be super critical. And it may be that self-sacrificing, super critical aspect in your personal relations is the one that can be released here, in order for you to be operating using your great practical and analytical skills, but from a very heart-centered place, and from a place that honors and values you. And just one last thing, on the 13th of September, the Sun, which obviously is also in your sign right up until the 22nd, the day of the equinox, the Sun will be conjunct Mercury, and that will potentially be a day where light is really shone on things, and you're really able to penetrate and very consciously bring into mind the things that you really need to be aware of. So a very good day for any mental activity, but also for clarity and insight. Virgo, what an interesting tarot card I drew for you. It is this one, the Ten of Swords. This is the end of something, and what it's particularly the end of, because it's swords, is thinking, this endless analysing, this whittling yourself away with worry. There's a complete and utter end of it. And I do feel that this may be the eclipse energy which is to flush this out and away. And certainly you can see in the background there, a new dawn is forming. So this is absolutely it. It's the cut-off point for all of that overthinking, over-analysing, over-worrying. So here's the reading if you are Libra rising, Libra sun or Libra moon. It could be useful to you in any of those three aspects. So Libra, we have, of course, equinox happening in your sign on the 22nd of September, when the sun will make its first move into the sign of Libra, and we have that balance of equal day and night. And of course, this is always the call to you, is can you balance the books? Can you balance the warring options? Can you bring things into a place of equilibrium? Now, for you, the eclipses will be happening in between your 12th house and your 6th house. And it will be Pisces, which is in the 6th, and Virgo, which is in the 12th. And I think that's a really nice little Libran twist, because they're in each other's houses, aren't they? You know, we think of the Virgo house as the 6th, the Pisces house as the 12th, but they flipped. So let's have a little look at how that might manifest for you. Well, let's have a look here. In the 6th house, where Virgo would traditionally be, one of the problems with that house is the notion of perfectionism, of having to be perfect with everything, of not being able to make an error, of not forgiving ourselves for little mistakes. And that's a perfectionism that can sometimes hold us back from even beginning things and create procrastinations, because we're so afraid of failing in any way, shape or form that beginning is a big issue. So that's something to be looking out for there. And we have Pisces there, and Pisces is calling you to the bigger picture, the more loving picture of the heart, of where, yes, you know, you forgive yourself. Only God is perfect. You're not expected to be perfect. Being human, being alive, means you will screw up some way, sometime, somehow, as everybody does. So it's about letting yourself off the hook on that one a little bit. Now, with the 12th house, having Virgo there, obviously there's between the two houses, this idea of serving. They're very much houses of service, houses of serving spiritually, serving in the world. All of that is emphasized for you. All of that is important. But one of the pitfalls in the 12th house can be hiding yourself away, maybe being afraid to come out and stand up for things, and being identified behind your values and beliefs, just showing up there and daring to come out of those hidden places of the 12th house. Now you have and continue to be under the cosh somewhat, Libra, because obviously the Neptune-Saturn conjunction is happening in your opposing sign of Aries, and that will be hitting your planets and affecting you. So those big engines of change, of things dissolving and reforming in your life, you'll probably be knowing plenty about, and you may well have felt stresses and strains from that. But I wanted to mention something very specific, and that is that on the 16th of September, before the sun is in Libra, that is, Mars will enter your sign. Now, Mars isn't especially happy in the sign of Libra, but it can be a Mars that is much more peace-loving, and this usually adds quite a boost of energy. It may also be affecting you in the sense that you feel like you've got to fight the good fight, that you want to take up other people's causes and fight on their behalf. It may be calling you to peacekeeping, actually, and to mediating activities, but certainly spurring you on to action. But on the 16th of September, Mars in the sign of Libra forms an opposition to Chiron, which is currently in Aries. And this throws up this wounding to the sense of self. It's this feeling of being triggered. It's feeling of being vulnerable, areas where we feel particularly weak, maybe even feelings of shame, regret, remorse, whatever. But those kinds of feelings, sense of failure perhaps, that could be triggered then on the 16th. But remember, with the Pisces, Virgo axes of the eclipses, we are looking precisely at this healing journey, bringing those kind of feelings into our mind so we're aware of them, in order that we can say, yes, okay, I acknowledge you, now you can go. And finally, Mars, which we've already talked about, will leave your sign on the 22nd and make its way into Scorpio. Maybe a bit of a relief, but could also be a bit of a drop of vitality levels and energy, so watch out for that. Libra, your tarot card is this one, the 10 of Cups, a card of completion, and a very, very benefic and happy card. Now, I think this speaks to this lovely potential here that perhaps we've understressed in your reading, which is that with that Pisces 6th house, you can bring a real love and spirit into the ordinary, as shown by the joy that can be had through family, through those connections, through those very heartfelt, warm family connections in the everyday world. So this is the reading for Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon. So since November last year of 2024, Pluto, I should say, Pluto, which is your ruling planet, has moved into Aquarius, out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. And of course, Aquarius is one of the other fixed signs, and as such, that sign is technically squaring your sign in Scorpio. And so it may be that you certainly you experience from the moon and Mercury and the quick moving planets, you will keep making square aspects at some point of each month, if you like, to those early degrees of Aquarius where Pluto is. So that, will have, I suppose, a daily feel a little more daily touch. There may be very little touches, but they're touches of those big transformations that are taking place in the world. But let's look specifically at these eclipses for you and other major things going on for the month. So for Scorpio rising, this axis will be between the 11th and the 5th house. Now, Pisces is in the 5th, and this will be, it's a very fertile thing to be there, and we know that that means the North Node is there, and that it's coming from a place beyond the more typical ego of that 5th house, because this is traditionally the house of Leo, where we want to shine, the performer, where we're, you know, the big creator, where we're very rightly so, you know, heart center, and here we are. But with Pisces there, I think that is somewhat diffused, and the Piscean energy is towards a higher form of self rather than an egotistical form of self. So that's one of the calls there, is can we get into a higher aspect? Not perhaps that aspect of us that has to be right, has to win, has to, you know, getting away from that. But the 5th house is very creative. It's very playful, has huge potentials there. And that's where your North Node is currently. And this is opposite the 11th house, where we find Virgo. And we know that this is an axis of service. Now, it can be, because the 11th house more traditionally is a place of the group, of groups and colleagues and so forth. It can be that place where we can feel a little bit of an outsider. And sometimes it may be, in the more negative aspect of this, not so much that you're taking what's creative and great from the 5th house and taking it into the 6th house to share, but on its more negative aspect, it can be you performing to that group rather than really sharing with that group. And it can be, in some ways, an archetype that can operate here is that of the outsider. But it can be that an aspect of us wishes to be an outsider because we don't really want to be known. And there is something very introspective and personal, I'm going to say secretive, about the sign of Scorpio, in that there will always be a call which belongs to you and to you alone. But it may be that you're being asked here to relax some of those boundaries a little and open the flow of what you have to offer a little more into the social group, into colleagues, co-workers, groups of all sorts, maybe spiritual groups or any kind of group of people where you are operational. There's a huge opportunity because you have a tremendous amount to give from this Piscean creativity in the 6th house, which can be very, very heartfelt and deeply loving. So there's a lot there that can be given, and your challenge is to perhaps break down some of the reserves there and do so. Now, there's a little bit of a warning because on the 24th, we have Mars coming into your sign on the 22nd of September. Now, Mars is a co-ruler of Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio, very, very, very determined energy, and certainly this will double down on you're pretty determined sign anyway, and this will double down on that energy. Mars in Scorpio almost, it can be unstoppable in the sense that it will just go and accept no barrier, no time limit either on the effort that will be put in there. But just 2 days later, on the 24th, it makes a square to Pluto. Now, we can see there's a positive sense is that Pluto is the drive for evolution and Mars the actions that we take in order to evolve. But it can also be a warning, a destructive energy. And I just caution you on that day to think before you react, to be aware that that explosive and very powerful energy, almost nuclear energy, I would say, is afoot there for that day. And, tread cautiously. I think that's the message that I would give there. And the card that I've drawn for you, Scorpio, is this one, a Major Arcana card. So always a very powerful card to come out. And this is the 5, and it is the Hierophant, often symbolized by your opposing sign of Taurus. But I think it speaks quite well to what I was saying about the 5th and 11th house opposition that we've got there. So we have here the idea of the Hierophant, the one who delivers the message to the lay people, the one who is the intercessor between spiritual systems in religions. Now, this can be, here we see quite a sort of traditional figure, if you like, of a Hierophant, but it can often be the shaman. It can be that one who can explore the depths, explore the deep, and bring that back to share with others. And I think that there is much in the potential here of that, Scorpio is of itself quite a deeply searching sign. And I think there can be this aspect of, interceding between realms almost, as it were, and this bringing back of information. The Hierophant is the bridge between worlds, I think. And I think the message reinforces what I was saying before. If we go beyond ego and beyond power, and we touch that higher aspect of self, then we have something truly wonderful to share. And I think that really reinforces the message of the eclipse for you. Hi, so this is the reading for Sagittarius rising. And as a mutable sign, along with Pisces and Virgo, you will really be feeling these movements on that mutable axes. So they will certainly be resonating with you. But if you have Sagittarius rising, then the eclipses will be happening for you between the 4th and the 10th houses. And that's a really interesting axis, actually, because it is right between the real personal, interior, and the external, the public face, what we're known for in the world. And that is the axis where this is happening for you. Now, in the 10th house, where we have Virgo, especially with Virgo there, and especially with Sagittarius, there can be a workaholic element. There can be this, it's only by pushing, proving the boundaries, conquering, achieving, accomplishing, that we can exist, that we can prove our worth, that we can be who we are. And sometimes this for you can be at the expense of the inner world, the home, your family, those things that root you down and bring for you a sense of security. And at its deepest level, it can be a flight away from any feelings of vulnerability which may be felt in the fourth house, connected to childhood and the past, into busy, frantic activity that just fills up all of the time, and actually, like other holics, is workaholic, and that can be something here that you need to redress the balance of. And you need to get more into adjustment and balance there, where the inner and the outer, home and work, or what you do in the world, what you're known for, are brought into better balance. So time, Sagittarius, to be a bit more of a human being and a little less of a human doing. There are one or two other things just to mention here, and that is that on the 4th, your ruler Jupiter, which is in Cancer, will be forming a trine to the North Node in Pisces. Now, these are both signs, very emotional, feeling signs. And I think that, again, is really directing you of the direction to go, is to tapping into that vulnerable feeling centre, which perhaps gets sidelined a little. Also, on the 5th, so just the next day, Jupiter will form a square to Mars in Libra. And this square from Jupiter to Mars can blow things up a little bit. It can be a time when annoyances become puffed up out of proportion, where it's important, to soothe the drama down and just keep calm there and not allow things to escalate beyond the point that they should. I think that's one to watch there. Your tarot card, Sagittarius, is the Three of Cups, and this is about enjoying the pleasures of the moment with friends and smelling the roses, having fun, celebrating, going more into play, enjoyment and leisure, and just remembering that is very much there for you too. And of course, these are cups, and they tap in, don't they, to that trine from Jupiter in Cancer to the North Node in Pisces, where we're looking at that realm of loving human feelings. And this is the reading for Capricorn, rising, sun and moon. Oh, Capricorn, so you must have heaved a huge sigh of relief when Pluto eventually left your sign and moved into Sagittarius back in November of 24. But you didn't have many months out of the woods before the Saturn and Neptune conjunction started to form in the sign of Aries. And of course, this will affect the early degrees of all of the cardinal signs. So that will be both Aries, Libra, Cancer and Capricorn, particularly in the early parts of those signs, will be feeling and have been feeling that conjunction. And of course, we know that as of 2026, those planets will be back into the cardinal picture and staying there for quite some time. However, let's look at where the eclipse, the two eclipses, the mirror image eclipses between Pisces and Virgo are happening for you. Well, they are happening between the 3rd house, which is where Pisces is, and the 9th house, where Virgo is. And I think this is a very interesting mix here. Now, the third house is that place where we're formulating our thoughts, our daily thinking, our everyday type of thinking. But we have Pisces there. And then in the ninth house, where we're thinking of higher philosophies, bigger pictures, we have Virgo there. And it's like really they would be slightly happier in reverse to that. But that's where they are. Now, in the third house, it can be a place of overthinking. And it can be overthinking, over-analysing, in order to feel a sense of control, like you have a grip on everything. And that may feed into a sense of security for you. You know, I've got everything sorted. I've thought about everything. I've got all my ducks in a row. I've thought all this through. However, there's some indication that, and one of the problems that we can encounter with the ninth house, which is the other side of the axes for you, of these eclipses, is that of not quite exactly preaching, but becoming too fixed. I'm right, I have the right view, this is the way it is, and I will stick to that firmly. Now, Capricorn is a sign of great integrity. It is a deep sign. It's the last of the earth signs. It thinks deeply about things. But it is also a sign that does enjoy control and does enjoy this sense of, I'm secure with this and I'm sticking my guns. I think that is very Capricornian and often a very good thing. But I think you're being called here to be a little more flexible. You're going to need to flex a little more. This will not mean that you lose your integrity. It means really it's better to bend than break. That, I think, is the kind of message that's coming through here. To develop a little more flexibility in that the bigger pictures that you form, and also perhaps don't be quite so obsessed with controlling, micromanaging all of the details that you're thinking about in life. Okay. Your ruler, Saturn, sorry, your ruler, Saturn, is retrograde all month and has gone also back into Pisces, which is not a place where Saturn is naturally finding itself at home. And that may actually have the effect of you feeling some of your boundaries being a little softened. And this would indicate that it wouldn't be a bad thing for some of those boundaries to be softened. So we have the perfect tarot card for expressing what I was just talking about, and that is the Four of Cups. Now, all fours are about stability. They're about a stable, square, quite Saturnian place of feeling we've found stability from the four. But of course, it's an early number. There's much more to explore beyond it. And you can see here that the figure is rather, no, I'm not interested in this cup that's coming out of the clouds. Take it away. I don't want it. And it's just focused on, I know what I know. I have what I have. You know, I'm going to stick with those three cups and I'm not interested in anything else. And I think, therefore, you could really miss out. I think life is offering you something different, something coming a bit more out of the imaginal realm, and is saying, come on, take the cup. Who knows, you know, what else there is to explore here. So a very apt message for you, Capricorn.